Hey everyone, Bill Nichols here. Bill Nichols TV. Today I'm going to pick the winner from the last Phantom case review that I did and give you a number of tips for safe buying and selling online on Craigslist from my experiences. Stay tuned. So recently I've sold quite a bit of stuff on Craigslist, and over the years I've sold tons of stuff online, offline as well. But I want to give you some of my tips from recent experiences on Craigslist, and recent being the past couple of years, things that I've experienced to help you when you're selling online and some things that you can do. This might interest some of you, this might not. But I'll tell you that overall, over the course of a couple of years, I've had a couple of people that have tried to scam me, some that have got really close, one that did get away, and then just some general safety tips. When I moved to LA, I would look on Craigslist for things like a MacBook Pro, for things when I was looking, to sell stuff or to buy stuff. So I'm going to give you a couple of my really quick tips for safely buying stuff on Craigslist. So tip number one, meeting in public. I don't ever go to somebody's house, and I generally never let somebody come to my house, even if they're buying furniture and they do come to my house. I have some different tactics that I use there to make sure that me and my family remain safe. So buying on Craigslist, I almost always meet somebody at a well-populated, safe area Starbucks or directly at a bank. So when I get to a Starbucks or when I'm going to meet somebody there, just a couple of really quick safety things. If I'm coming up to buy, let's say that I'm going up and I'm going to buy a MacBook or a camera or something like that, they know how much money I'm going to have with me generally, right? So I can tell you a story about a number of years ago where I was going to buy a MacBook Pro from someone. I was meeting them at a Starbucks. It was for $1,500. I told them a time for us to meet at Starbucks. I got to Starbucks ahead of time so that I was inside the Starbucks to begin with. And then I texted them and let them know, like, hey, I'm already inside Starbucks and this is what I'm wearing. But instead of saying that this is what I'm wearing, I'm wearing a light blue or gray shirt, I've got glasses on, I'd tell them like I'm wearing a baseball cap and a red jacket. So then they would come in and I could see who was coming in from Starbucks. And in this particular time, I would say that it really saved me from having a potential, altercation at the Starbucks. So what happened was I went to the Starbucks in Hawthorne. I was going to buy a MacBook Pro, $1,500 cash. The only way that I was going to do that was if I was already inside the Starbucks. So I got inside Starbucks, told the person exactly that I was wearing, a baseball cap and a red jacket, and told them just to meet me inside. Well, they then proceeded to text me, hey, I'm outside of my car, come outside and meet me. I just said, no way, I'll meet you inside. And then from then I saw somebody that was really suspicious walking around the outside of the Starbucks. It was all glass, looking inside and looking for that and then saying, oh, I don't see you inside, where are you? And I just simply said, come inside, and I'll meet you. I am inside of Starbucks. And this is what I'm wearing. And I continued to get text messages from them. Just meet me outside of my car. This was at nighttime. Just meet me outside of my car. Just meet me outside of my car. I wasn't comfortable with it. I was pretty sure that they're going to try and just mug me and take the money or somehow rip me off. So tip number one, I don't really tell somebody what I'm wearing. I'm confident in being able to defend myself, whatever, but I really don't want to have an altercation. So for that, I'd like to minimize that possibility. So I generally tell people I'm wearing something that I'm not. And then when they come in, I'm going to know who they are. And then I just explain to them, hey, I just told you something different just because I didn't want to have, a situation where you know how much money I have on me and you meet me outside. So at that Starbucks, since I told them I was wearing one thing, I was able to just get up, walk out and leave. And the person that was outside, that was definitely, so when I came outside and saw their car, because they did describe their car to me, there were them and 3 other people that were in that car waiting. So I'm pretty sure that they wanted to do something. So number one, I don't really describe what I'm wearing, and I make sure that I'm inside of a Starbucks. I try and meet only during the day at a well-trafficked Starbucks that's in a safe area. So that's one. So that was me buying something. The other way that I do it is that I'll meet somebody inside of a bank. So I'll just really easily tell them, meet me inside the bank, especially if it's a large transaction, then I won't even have the money out. They get there, I'll look at everything. Generally, a bank has a waiting area or a little public area that we can take a look at, something that we need to look, spend a couple of minutes on. Then I'll go and actually just make a withdrawal right then, give them the money, and then generally that's it. They've got the money now. They have what they want. I have the item. We both walk away and we're happy. If it's a Starbucks or a bank, I generally try and park right in front of the exit door or right near the exit door or a clear line so that I can see everybody that's coming in and out. And keep in mind, I'm coming to you from for years. I was a risk consultant where I worked at a really cool place where we did kidnap for ransom type stuff. I did physical pen testing, social engineering. So I know a lot of the tricks that people are going to use to try and rip you off. And generally, I'm utilizing my knowledge of that to make sure that I have a safe transaction. So for buying, those are the two main things. Meet in a public place, preferably for me, it's just a Starbucks or a bank. And I'm going to generally describe myself as something different so that somebody's not earmarking me before I come in and they're not identifying me and trying to, get to me outside beforehand. Might seem a little bit paranoid, a little bit overly cautious, but always better safe than sorry. Now, most of my tips come from selling. I have a ton of experience selling on Craigslist and selling on other places. Matter of fact, recently I sold my technical camera and my technical camera lens that I was selling, both of them for a total of about $10K. And with both of those, one, somebody flew in to meet me because it wasn't that, it was that rare of a lens that they couldn't get it and they were getting a good deal on it. Another one I actually sold to somebody that I shipped to in Japan. I'm gonna explain how I safely did that and how I felt confident enough that I wasn't going to be ripped off. So let's just start right there. My number one rule, it's not a hard and fast rule, and I will break this on occasion, is that I generally will not ship anything that I'm going to sell. Now, I have a couple of forums online that I sell through besides Craigslist, and on those forums, it's generally high-end professional photographers that I can get a reference from externally to verify who they are. So recently I had a technical camera body, my Arca Swiss that I was selling, and I had a number of people approach me. And on this forum, I can see if they're novices on the forum, so if they've just joined or if they have a lot of history. One person that ended up contacting me had over 2,000 posts. I was then able to take their name, ask many people in the forums if they had heard of him. He had a really good rep, and he was willing to wire the money directly to me. So he was comfortable with my reputation. I was able to give him a couple of references from me who he could go talk to make sure that I was legitimate, and then I had some references for him. So in that case, I gave him the wire instructions to my bank. He actually wired the money into my account, and then after that, I found out what the shipping amount was going to be. He then paid me the shipping amount, and then I've shipped that camera out to him in Japan. Insured it, everything, it's good to go. I know with the wire that he's not going to be able to pull those funds back from me, and that was it. A problem that I had a little while back where I sold something that was shipped was I had a Profoto backpack, which is an external battery. They were about $1,500 new. Back when I sold it, I was able to sell it for about $800. It worked perfectly. I'd put it on Craigslist. Somebody in Texas saw it and asked if I would ship it to them. I did the same thing with them. I checked them out online. I was relatively comfortable with them, and I let them pay through my merchant account. I use Square. They paid. I shipped it out to them right away, packaged up everything. They got it. They had it for about 3 or 4 weeks. Then they got in contact with me and said, oh, hey, this thing doesn't work. I'm going to send it back to you and I want a refund. And I had sold it as is. And I told them, I said, I'm sorry, I can't take a refund. If you'd like, though, I have somebody locally that's really good at working on them. He works on pro photo gear. And if you want to ship it back here, I'm more than happy to take it into him. And then he can give you an estimate and you guys can deal with that. He wasn't happy with that. He notified his bank, started to do a chargeback. But on the documentation that I had our initial emails. In those emails, I had that this was being sold as is, that it works perfectly, but it was being sold as is, it is used, and I couldn't be responsible for anything, and did he want me to ship it insured? He did not want me to ship it insured. So what I actually felt like happened was that he probably received it, didn't use it correctly, because there were some strobes that you weren't supposed to use with it, then burned it out, and then wanted to blame me for selling him something defective. So I went to my bank, Square, when they said that there was a chargeback being done. I gave them all of the documentation, as well as not recorded, but documented conversations that I'd had on the phone when I told them this was being shipped as is. When I sold it, on the receipt, I had that it was being shipped, that it was being sold as is, and that there were no returns. And I had him acknowledge that afterwards in an email, just saying, yes, I understand that this is being sold as is and there aren't returns. He was still able to initiate a chargeback. When I sent everything through to my bank, he then his bank then denied the claim, and the funds they stayed with me. So that's one way that if you're selling something that you're ever going to ship, or what I've learned now, I generally only deal in cash. But if you're selling anything that you're going to utilize PayPal for, or you're going to utilize Square or some other form of payment where you can take a credit card, now what I always do is I send an invoice ahead of time, even if I'm meeting the person locally. I have them pay. On that invoice, I have it say that it's being sold as is, that it's properly working, or document anything that's wrong with it, the contents of what I'm selling, and then that there's no return policy. Then I print that invoice out. They see that when they pay. They get that electronically. Then I print that invoice out, and I print out one copy. Then I take it to the sale where I verify the ID of the person, so that I'm looking at the person. I see their ID of who paid for it and that it is the same ID. And then I have them sign those things. I have them sign the invoice saying, yes, it's sold as is, there's no returns, it's working properly. Then they take it from there and they sign it, they date it, I retain that. So then if there's any chargeback issue, I have all of that. And I had this again happen recently where I met somebody locally, I let them pay with a credit card. This is probably the worst one that's happened. I let them pay with a credit card. I met them, they were very nice, they paid, they came back later that day to pick it up. Then 2 days before 4 months was up, so most chargebacks have a deadline of 4 months. 2 days beforehand, they contacted their bank, said that they didn't recognize the charge, that it wasn't theirs, and then their bank initiated a chargeback against me. I was absolutely furious. I called the person on the phone. He immediately said that it was a mistake and he was going to take care of it. I told him that I was going to give him 5 days to take care of it, that I wanted the confirmation back from his bank, because generally what he would need to do is cancel that charge back, get a confirmation from his bank, send that to me. I could then send that to my bank and they would fix it. He didn't. I had a few more conversations with him. It was clear that he was trying to defraud me. So I grabbed all of my, and before that I grabbed all of my documentation where I did have a bill of sale that he signed, and then I had follow-up emails afterwards asking me a few questions about using this drone. It was a large matrix drone that I had sold. He asked me a few questions. He told me how happy he was with it, showed me some sample photos and videos of it. So I took all of that and sent that to my bank. And immediately his bank canceled the charge back and returned the funds to me. So that's just one way to protect yourself. So if you are selling anything, you're going to take a credit card. I'd recommend not to, just because it can be a pain. But for some large things, you might have to, especially when we're dealing with camera gear, with drones, whatever. I always print out a bill of sale. I have them sign it. I verify their ID, and then I just document everything. And by document, I just say, like on that receipt, I've got the dates and everything. So then later when I need to go back to my bank, if I do, I can. And there was one time where I was scammed. I was totally taken, and I'd followed all of these steps, and the person still got away. I was selling an iPad, I want to say about a year and a half ago, an iPad Air. I met the person at Starbucks, middle of the day, all cash. They looked at the iPad, they liked it, they went to pay me, and they paid me in 20s and 10s. Everything looked good. I took the money, they left. Later on that day, I went to a bike shop. I went to go pay for some clothing, and I knew the person behind the counter, and he's like, Bill, what's going on? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, these are fake. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're fake. And it hadn't even occurred to me that I had sold this iPad and got this money. And I looked down and I had it mixed with real bills, and then I could feel the difference. But these were the new 20s and new 10s, and they looked perfect. The only thing that I didn't notice was that some of the serial numbers on about half the 20s were the same. So I called the cops. I ended up losing that money. And I learned a hard lesson there. But one thing that I learned about that is when I'm taking cash now over Craigslist, one, I have a counterfeit pin that I just swipe across the bills to make sure that they're not counterfeit. But if I don't have that pin with me, a really quick thing to do is just look at the serial numbers. And then I have a couple of real bills with me that I compare the paper against, because on their own, these looked completely authentic and legitimate. When mixed with other bills, there was a slight difference in the consistency of the paper. If I hadn't mixed them with real bills, I don't think that anybody would have known. But so now I will look at it and make sure that the serial numbers don't match. So they're not the same, because that's an obvious one. And then I use a counterfeit pin. One thing that I learned from the cops about the counterfeiting is that there are a lot of organized crime that are getting a ton of very good counterfeit bills out there. They're then handing them to college students, and even in some cases to high school students. They'll give them a stack of $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, tell them to go buy stuff on Craigslist. They go out, they buy that stuff on Craigslist. They then sell it and then split that money with the organized crime or with whoever's doing the counterfeiting. And it's going on all over the place, and it's a ton of money that's changing hands. And then one last one that I have as a tip is whenever I meet somebody, if somebody's at my house. So I recently sold a set of dining room chairs, and I've sold some other furniture, a large restoration hardware leather chair that I had. So with that, when I knew that I had a buyer, because I told them that I didn't want to just bring that stuff, down for them to look at. If they were serious, they could come in and look at it and take it with them. And I would always emphasize, that I wanted them to take it right then. So if they weren't able to, then I just wouldn't show it to them. And what I do in those cases is I have a time, let's say that they're coming at 1 p.m. So at 12:30, I just set the stuff outside my house, and then I'm out there with it. So with the chair, I set it right outside my garage, close the garage, and then that's it. With a bicycle that I sold in the past, I did the same thing. I had it outside, and I actually put it outside at my neighbor's house, and then had them meet me there. They looked at it, that was it. It was good to go. They paid me, they left. I don't want to have to deal with anybody after the sale. So if they came to my house and they came inside of my house. They could be casing my house. They could see something in my house that they really wanted and then, come back later. So I've never let somebody in my house. It's always outside, garage closed, door closed, no way to see anything that's inside of my house. For me, the safety of my family is number one. So that's it. But I wanted to give you some ideas there. And then if you're ever looking to buy something that's high dollar on Craigslist or on, through another place like Luminous Landscapes or through Get DPI or some other forum, ask that person if they have references at a large camera shop. So like for me, having my medium format gear, I could have people call Sammy's or I could have people call Digital Transitions in New York. I could say, go talk to Doug, ask him if he knows who I am, he knows what kind of person I am, and they can vouch for me. They'll call them, say, oh, is Bill Nichols a real person and should we deal with him? They'll say, yeah, he's a stand-up guy, no problem, his gear's good to go. Then that's it, and then they get more familiar. So that's it, guys. I just want to give you some really quick ideas on selling safely and buying safely on Craigslist. It's kind of crazy out there. So just some things to think about. So with that, let's get to the giveaway. This went really quick. About 80 comments so far. I want to say about 15 of those are mine replying back to you. I tried not to reply back to as many comments on this video because I really didn't want to. I wanted it to hit 50, give this thing away. So for a reminder, I decided in my last video to keep this bag from CasePro. Awesome bag, Phantom 4 backpack, super light, great features. Go to this video over here. There's a card, you can go there, you can take a look, and then go to this other video for the giveaway that I'm doing of a CamSafe Z14 anti-theft bag. But I am giving this one away today to somebody that commented. So let's go in here. I now use TubeBuddy, which is great. It's a YouTube tool that you use. I have to pay monthly for it, but it's really helping me manage the channel. Now I can see comments I haven't replied to and all that. So I'm just gonna go here into the TubeBuddy extension. I'm gonna say pick a winner on this video. And if we're ready, let's just pick a winner. Christopher Jackson. I don't know if that's supposed to be Jackson or if it is Jackson. I would love the bag. I'm a deputy from Nevada that has always taken my P4 out to film training ops and special events that we do in the community. I've also taken your advice on the drone certification school. I think you'll love it. As a reminder, guys, I wasn't going to remind anybody about this, but I did extend the discount to Drone Pilot Ground School. So if you go to dronepilotgroundschool.com, it's normally $299. I actually paid for the course. I'm going through it. If you use the code BNTV50, you will get $50 off. I talked to Alan actually earlier today. He now has there's been a 98% pass rate through the course. There's over 2,000 students in it. He's had over 500 people pass the Part 107 exam. So go take a look at dronepilotgroundschool.com. I'm going through it. I'm going to actually do a video later this week, show you some stuff on sectional charts and tell you a story about reading sectional charts and how it saved me recently with law enforcement. True story. And about weather maps, I'm going to show you some of the modules in dronepilotgroundschool.com. But go take a look at Alan's course. He's an amazing guy. He's partnered with another company on some 3D modeling stuff. He's added more content in. He's constantly updating it. Probably the best ground school or the best drone pilot certification school that there is. Go check him out. Anyway, let's get back to Christopher. You'll be getting your commercial pilot cert soon. Enjoy the YouTube channel. Find it extremely helpful. Thanks a lot, Christopher. Really, everybody, thank you for watching. The channel's now just about at 7,000 subscribers. Another 500, I'm giving away that CamSafe bag. Just really thank you to everybody. I want to make this channel, this community as big as possible. So keep on interacting, keep watching, telling other people, subscribe if you haven't. You'll get all the notifications and the surprise giveaways like the one that I did last week. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just wanted to give you some safe, some ideas for safe buying and selling online because a lot of us have used gear that we're buying and selling. Coming up this week, there will be a new Lightroom video. There's gonna be a Typhoon H with RealSense video. That's maybe one more thing I should mention. Skybossdrones.com right now, the unique Typhoon is $400 off. So I'll just put those links in the description. The one with RealSense, $14.99. The one without RealSense, $9.99. So if you're interested in a Typhoon H, probably the best time to buy. It's under $1,000 now. So I'll have a Typhoon H with RealSense video up this week, a Lightroom video, an update on the Drone Pilot Ground School showing you some of the courses and my story on how reading sectional charts kind of saved my butt this past week. And that's it, guys. You have an awesome week. I'll talk to you soon. You keep watching. I'll keep making videos. Thank you so much.